Oh, oops. Hey!
Hooray, it works!
Finally got us running here. Sorry about that, folks, about the small delay.
We had our priorities straight.
Yeah, we have our priorities straight. As you can tell, we have some wonderful Culver's cheese curds down in the center there.
It's our stay-at-home bar.
This is going to be a long day. We'll probably have some texts going out to other folks to maybe come and bring us food.
Yes.
I think we'll have at least delivery.
And as far as we're concerned, distance is not a problem. Wherever you want to come from, just bring us food.
Yeah, that's fine too. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So anyway, my name is Andy. I played Trollbloods a while ago. I'm thinking about getting back into them, and so this is kind of my initiation back in.
Yep, and I am Troll Jeff, not because of this, because I live under a bridge, and I live and breathe Trollbloods.
I'm Brian, and just jump between a bunch of different factions, but more recently I've been playing Trolls.
Yeah.
And
Why don't you give people a look at your face real quick here?
Just lean in.
Like,
Face.
yeah, see?
There's more beard at this podcast than other ones, so
I feel bad for just covering up what little beard I have behind the mic.
yeah. So Brian's here. He's going to be painting up some models as we're talking for 8 hours here on Trolls. So we should probably get on to our first subject here.
Yep.
Or did you guys want to talk? Actually, hold on. I need to.
Oh,
mix
that's
this.
true. You gotta fix up your drink.
Yeah, I gotta mix this up. So
Well, while he's doing that, our first model is just going to be the Dire Troll Blitzer. This guy is pretty vanilla for Trollbloods. It's got some mediocre stats across the board. Its speed, nothing to write home about. Its strength is pretty standard for a heavy war beast from any faction. Its Mat and Rat are both 5, so that's something. And then defense 12, armor 18. So don't, like most of the Trollbloods heavy beasts, the stat line isn't why you're taking the beast. It's the extras, the bits and pieces, so to speak. The big highlights on that Blitzer are obviously going to be the stuff everyone knows about. Gunfighter and Virtuoso means that it can always fire its gun in the same round it's doing melee attacks. But there are some tricks to that make it a little more difficult, but at the same time make it better than most. The big trick a lot of people kind of don't realize with it is if you're doing special attacks or power attacks, you can still buy an extra gunshot. Just one, not the D3, but just the one. The flip side of that being is when you're in melee, because of the way Gunfighter works, you still can't fire out of melee. You have to shoot whatever you're in melee with.
yeah, you still retain that half inch
Right.
range.
So no matter how much you want to shoot the caster that's 2 inches past the fight, if he's got some choir member dancing in front of your Dire Troll, you got to shoot that first. Now there are some other ways you can do to kind of fix those problems. First and foremost, one of the ones I do is I tend to pick up whatever is in front of me, throw it at whatever I want to shoot, and buy the extra shot.
Yeah.
That'll get you out of melee and let you do that one more shot. Now it's only one, but like they say, boosted power 12s kill people, so I'm assuming 13s can do it too.
Do you want to try that?
No, I don't get it. I got to fix up my own drink.
No. So it's root beer with cinnamon whiskey. It's actually not too bad. It's just pretty good.
But
So, oh yeah, by the way, if you see any of us pass out, please call the authorities. Because, jeez,
what?
that's going to be awesome.
Yes, I'm going to mix it up.
Yeah.
I'm going to fix it. Actually, I did just fix it, and I just got to make sure it works. Yeah, I've got a pumpkin spice shake from Culver's, and I just added some cinnamon whiskey to it, so this is going to be wonderful.
So any other highlights you want to go over with the Blitzer?
The Animus is usually the big deal. Most people see the Dire Troll's Animus more often on the Legion Angelus, but it's repulsion, so you can use it to kick things out of melee if you need it. Most of the time people use this for scenario games. Is somebody's got a couple models towing the zone, you move up the Blitzer and go, get out, and now you've got the zone. That's the most common usage. If you're really dependent on trying to get a couple extra shots, you can actually forfeit the movement on the Blitzer to aim, repulse to get things out of your melee range, ideally, and then open up. But there's a couple other odds and applications. It's really with him is just kind of picking up where it is in the tabletop, because the Blitzer is not going to do the same work a regular heavy war beast is, even with the buffs. The Mat holds it back. It's only got a Fury of 4 compared to most of the other heavies, where it's got that Fury of 5. So it's got some pretty hefty limitations on making it an all-star, but it's an all-rounder instead. So, like, people overlook the fact that you can charge something with your blitzer, a little pud, murder the hell out of it with the dire troll, and then open up with the gun on something that's 10 inches back from that.
Yeah, definitely. If you're ever running a blitzer as well, you want to run it with the stones because you need that extra strength. He is kind of what would be pillow fisted.
Oh yeah,
Power 15s is not really that great. Trolls don't really have that many things to improve strength.
No, not at all.
No,
like
not at all.
nothing. not 3 animi and a stone.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the thing is if you think Legion is pillow fisted, then by God, Trollbloods are. Except we can fix it.
Have the technology.
Oh yes, they do. So yeah, the Blitzer's kind of a catch-all. It's usually not a beast I go to right away. It's nice to have in a certain niche. Like casters that support the ranged game really well support the Blitzer really well. Whereas the same is not true. The Blitzer does very little to support a Warcaster, because if your caster's using Repulse a lot, you're playing a very aggressive game where you're in trouble.
Yeah, there's very few casters that I can even think of that would really be able to utilize Repulse. Borka would be one, but
yeah, actually both Borkas could.
Yeah, because they can actually survive an attack because their defense is usually pretty high and their armor is pretty ridiculous.
Well, and in the
trolls.
case of Borka too, you can actually go with a ride-by attack. You can move up, bonk something, repulse, and back away, so you can get some extra clearance.
Man, that is actually really good. Somebody needs to try this besides me.
All right, let's see what we got here.
I got some root beer from Culver's. Mix it with the Fireball whiskey.
Oh, holy cow!
That is amazing.
Wow. Yeah. Ooh, I'll do that later on my own time. Wow.
Yeah. Holy cow. I'm going to be useless.
So that's the Blitzer as we get blitzed. Just starting, though.
Yep, definitely.
Slow warm-up, just like the Blitzer.
So, yeah, he's probably... He is the model that I got into Trollbloods for. The artwork for that model and the original model
the original
itself.
pewter sculpt is very dynamic and a lot of fun, and people often see it and go, what is that?
Yeah.
And then they see it do stuff and they go, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
It also seems like with having Repulse on him, I would see like maybe P Madrak doing some fun like setups when he does his feet turn with them.
A little bit, but between the overtake and reach, Madrak can often do that on his own.
I was thinking about like setting up for guys who don't have reach. Like once Madrak goes skipping through the woods of your opponent's infantry,
you could shove them into other models.
Yeah.
Make
Makes
it so
sense.
it's easier.
So yeah, that's the Blitzer. It's not the worst thing you can do with your points, but it's certainly not the best.
All right, so we'll go ahead and start talking about our next topic here, which is the wonderful Troll Bomber.
Yeah, the Bomber. Oh,
yeah, he's pretty sexy.
Everybody loves the Bomber, at least unless if you're playing Trollbloods. If you're not, then you probably don't like it much.
If I wasn't at risk of Twitch taking down the audio for this, I would actually start playing Motorhead Bomber.
Yeah, so the Bomber is built the same way that the Blitzer is. The stat line's absolutely identical. The big difference being is whereas the Blitzer has a D3 power 13 gunshots, that Bomber's got a rate of fire 2 power 16 AoE 4. So basically that's going to be power 8s on the blast damage roll. So it's dangerous enough where the blast damage can clean up most infantry because it's a war beast and not a war jack. You can boost it on important targets like if you drift into a UA or onto something that just absolutely has to die. So it's got all the benefits that go along with being a beast.
Yeah.
But then the fact that it's also packing power 16s and 2 of them. So like
15s.
No, 16s. Bomber is power 16s.
Yeah, 16.
No, that's you're looking at the claws. The bomb is a 16.
Oh yeah. Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
He's one of those crazy guys who's got like two melee stats and like 2.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're going to be burning all your fury boosting attack and damage roll, the ranged attack is actually stronger than his melee attacks. All in all, even buying multiples, because 2 fully boosted fists or 1.5 boosted ranged attacks, the ranged attacks are going to come out on top.
Yeah, that and he's also meant to take out even like stealth models or anything like that. Just the AoEs themselves, being on a beast that you can choose to boost it is so good.
Yeah, like it's not ideal, but I've used bombers to kill things like Bane Thralls, where you throw a bomb into the crowd, you wait to see who's hit by it, and you boost them. Because even at that point in time, the Bane Thralls are going to have some troubles.
I know in the past when I've used the Bomber, he's always been threatening like Circle War Beasts because you can sit still and aim to get your Rat 7 and then that's usually going to hit them pretty regularly.
Yeah, and no matter what circle beast you're firing at, most of them don't care for the power 16s in the face.
Oop.
And because it's quotation marks only range 8, but we're gonna go into our Bob the Builder here and go, we can fix it because we've got the Impaler to boost up that range.
Yeah, you have many things in there. Like Bjorn can actually fix them as well, but not really fix them. I mean, he still kills casters dead.
Yeah.
I mean,
and here's usually the big catch with the bomber is that range 8 means that if you don't have an Impaler, you're usually only going to get one round of fire before you're stuck in melee. So you need to either be prepared to spend the points on his Impaler friend so you can get a couple rounds of that gun going, or have an escape plan for melee. There's a couple of different ways to get into it from other factions, and I'll get into it a little bit more when we get to those figures. But just kind of be prepared that unless you've got that Impaler handy, you're only going to get one round of shooting unless your opponent's feeling very generous. So other things that it does do is it's still a Trollblood War Beast, though. So even though it's better at its ranged game, it's not shabby in melee either. A Pyro Troll or Slag Troll Animus or the Mauler Animus take up to a power 17 or 18.
Yep. And
if you've got something to fix the Mat 5, it can still kill another heavy, especially if the opponent wasn't prepared for it.
Usually what fixes the Mat 5 is the low defense of other people's heavies.
Right. I'm one of those people who doesn't like to trust a 5 to hit a Mat 5 to hit a defense 12 without boosting. So I usually just try to find other ways of correcting it. But
needing 7s, yeah.
If you're willing to trust it, the bomber can absolutely kill any other reasonable heavy without too much investment. A couple of the things that people don't often realize that they can do with the bomber outside of just throwing bombs at things. The Animus is actually useful not for Trollbloods, but for mercenaries. I believe it's called Bomb Shelter. For one point, a model becomes immune to blast damage rolls. Anything base contact with it does as well.
Yep.
And it's not friendly faction; it's just friendly. So if you got a handful of Nis who are all clustered and engaged, you can actually have your bomber throw Bomb Shelter in one of those Nis. They're all holding hands and just throw a bomb into the fight to maybe free them up and charge something better. Because that bomb's no longer going to hurt those Nis, but it can certainly kill whatever they're engaged with, like if they got stuck with some Kazi or a lot of other things that like to run and engage your ranged troopers. And I use it quite a bit when I've got an important figure I need to make certain doesn't die, but needs an activation outside of the melee he's engaged with. The bomber will roll up on his own, put Bomb Shelter on him, and go, here, catch a bomb. And you can liberate a lot of things that way. So while the Animus won't get cast very often, it is pretty handy.
It is pretty sexy. I do like it.
Yeah, so I mean, don't build a list around it. That's a bad idea. But don't forget that it exists.
Very true.
But otherwise, it's probably one of the scariest beasts Trollbloods can bring to bear. Most people do not like seeing it across the table. If they see a list with a pair of bombers, then people start getting cranky real fast. Because that means if their caster falls down anywhere within 17 inches of those two bombers, it's probably dead.
Which ties very well to another thing that we'll talk about later on, which is their battle engine.
Yeah.
Which works pretty well with bombers. But we'll talk about that when we get to it. I've
got a nice long diatribe of how awesome that is. But right now, it's the Diatroll Bomber. Speaking of which.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you guys should eat some of these cheese curds because I'm not going to eat them all. I mean, I would like to eat them all, but eventually they're going to get cold, and it's going to suck.
Well, then they just revert back to their natural state. And
then they're just cheese curds.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Spicy meat cheese curds.
But yeah, the bomber is a very, very good beast. It will very rarely do you wrong. The only problem with it is that big, 10-point price tag, and it does want some support still, either a ranged boost or a melee damage boost, or maybe both.
Yeah. Basically the Blitzer was pretty good until the bomber came out, and then the bomber.
I'll disagree.
Really
the Blitzer was treading water till the bomber came out, and the bomber stepped on its head, drowned the Blitzer, and swam on.
Oh, you're so mean.
The Blitzers have rarely performed well for me, but I'm used to getting one shot of the D3, just the one shot.
No, I seem to do well with that. I seem to roll like 2-3 shots all the time.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I've fielded the Blitzer a handful of times. And it's gotten me a handful of wins, but it's not, in most lists, I'd rather dig up the extra point to put a bomber in its place.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only time I use a bomber is when I'm specifically wanting to use a bomber for... I mainly use it for its Animus. If I'm going for a Trollblood army where I want to control the zones,
You're talking about a blitzer, not a bomber, then.
that's what I mean. Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever.
It's mostly for scenario play and some surprise reach, but you have to have a pretty optimal target for the blitzer to get the mileage out of its surprise. So let's move on. What's our next beast?
Oh, the next beast is I didn't hit record on our normal podcast.
Oh well, shame on you.
Oh my God!
God.
Whoops. All right.
So what goes missing now?
Nothing. I'll fix it in post.
Okay, there we go.
This is the audio podcast is going to be messed up. Just to let everyone know, too, is that we are going to be taking like a couple-minute breaks here, mainly so I can save the audio version of the podcast and make sure it doesn't corrupt like it did last time on Jeremy's 8-hour marathon.
Yeah. Also, because we want to use the bathroom every once in a while, and Andy doesn't like it when we pee on his rug.
Well,
I got these bottles.
Yeah.
Oh, see, there we go.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Yeah, it's a true form of recycling. just well,
it goes in and comes out the same way.
You drink the piss and then you pee the piss.
Well, if you're a aspiring entrepreneur, you just tint it a little bit if you're a little off, and then just resell it to somebody, some kid. I'm sure they'll take it. They don't know what it tastes like anyways, so.
Yeah, well, make sure they never go drinking again.
That's it. I'm a an upstanding citizen.
Yes,
trying to
that
keep
is your
kids off of
contribution to
beer.
mankind.
All right, so we're going to go switch over to the Mauler.
Oh, the Mauler. This guy has gotten a bad rap for some reason. He's kind of still a mainstay of the Trollblood army. So the Mauler's got a better stat line than the Bomber and the Blitzer, like we discussed. It's got a better mat up to 6, and It's got a Fury of 5.
Yep.
So those two things combined means it's a melee beast. Go figure. However, the reason it's gotten a bad rap is its Animus is the highlight. Rage with the +3 strength is really, really good, but there are cheaper alternatives to get damage boosts in the Trollblood army. The second problem the Mauler has is when you take that 9-point War Beast and throw him up against a lot of other factions' 9-point beasts, he comes up a little short. And my honest opinion on that one is that's misusing your Mauler. Your Mauler is not supposed to be parked on the front line to charge in and kill something. Your Mauler is supposed to actually be kicking in the second row, going like, "Hey, you, Mr. Caber Tosser, have 3 more strength. Go in there and die, and when you're dead, I'm going to finish the problem that you started." So it can go toe-to-toe with just about any other heavy in the game, especially if you've got someone to tag him with its Animus, because it takes his power 16 fists, cranks them up to a 19, and when you can throw out a potential 7 of those, things don't walk away happy.
Generally not.
Yeah.
Actually, POW 20 though, if you
can get the stone going on
if you
it
have
too.
the stone going on. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll hit hard. It's got a chain attack grab and smash, which is actually really helpful too, because you can if you get the 2 hits in, do a headbutt, knock him down, or pick him up and throw something. There's a lot of games that end that way with Trollbloods. Is the Mauler rages himself, goes over, and then hits something twice, does a 2-handed throw into something else. That something else takes a collateral 15 or 16 if the stone's going on it, because the strength has been increased, not the power. And whatever you hit is just knocked down after taking a power 15 or 16.
Even if he's raged when he does that grab and smash, that adds to it too, because it's +3 strength.
Yep, because it's just to his strength. It's very, very good at that kind of flexibility. Now that said, with the Mauler, one of the first things that I think people also need to do is don't just go straight for the throat, so to speak. Don't always go for the kill. You can get a lot of board control out of that thing because of the strength boosts. Every once in a while, you'll come across a beast that's just a little bit too much for a Mauler to handle, even with rage going on it. You're looking at your, super beefed up Gedrexes that are like defense 14 and armors 19 to 20. Items like that are going to be a little bit much for a Mauler to kill on its own. You can do almost as much damage, literally just grabbing him with one boosted attack and throwing the thing. That's going to be strength 15, 16. 7.5 to 8 inches. You can clear something out of a zone, and now the beast is knocked down, so it can't just get up and murder. You've taken it out of the game for a round, and yes, it might kill you later, but the odds of you actually killing that beast were questionable to begin with.
Yep, that's a good way to get rid of things, is just to throw it out of the way. It was one of my horrible moments at at Lock and Load a couple years ago. It was the first time that I played against a Colossal. So I sent Mulg at the Colossal, and his Conquest just picked up Mulg and just threw him towards his deployment zone, like away from my caster. I'm like, oh wait, oh no,
Yeah.
And then Mulg proceeded to rage against everything that was behind there, but
Yeah, but it
that
wasn't what you wanted dead. It was just something that was nearby. So yeah, and that's the thing with the Mauler is it's very versatile and it's very generic and vanilla. It does a lot of good stuff, and don't dismiss it just because you can get a cheaper damage buff, because it's a much stronger standalone late game piece. Like when you're cornered and you've got like a slag or a pirate troll left, like it can do some damage, but it's not going to have the same kind of oomph that a Mauler is if you're on your at the edge of your deployment zone going what happens next, because if your opponent sees you got a pirate troll left and your caster, they're going to go, nah, not a big deal. They see a Mauler in your caster, they're going to give you some ground to work with.
Yeah.
But the Mauler is just a generically solid beast. It might be a little overcosted at 9 points. I still get envious when I stare at what the Gladiator does for 8. But it's not to be dismissed just because other things can hit harder without any work. Most of my Mauler games, he's literally a second rank beast. He sits back, helps things out that go in and die, and then he picks up the pieces and is unstoppable.
So you don't really have that trouble that somebody had mentioned up on the stream though about the only problem with the Mauler's Animus is that you can't rush the beast.
That's true. And what your second row, it does make a difference, because
correct.
If like what's really common is I'll leave my my Krell warriors in kind of like a U-shaped formation, and the Mauler will crawl up into the bottom of the U, so to speak, and he'll put rage on a caber tosser.
Yeah.
And then the unit will go forward to something that's probably about 8 or so inches ahead or something like that, and that caber tosser is going to knock something's face off.
Is that POW 18?
Yes.
Is it 15 plus 3?
It's 15 plus 3.
Okay, so possibly POW 19 if you have the stone nearby. That caber is gonna
it's going to hit something, and because Rage is improving the model's strength, instead of that kind of questionable power 6 collateral damage, it's a power 9 collateral damage.
Yeah, that is pretty sexy.
So it'll hit pretty hard, but then what happens is your opponent's got to eat your Krell warriors before they get to your Mauler. So maybe they do that, maybe they don't, but now your Mauler is close enough to start doing some real damage.
True.
Like they'll kill your Krell warriors, but that's what they do, they die. And then your Mauler goes, oh, now something's wounded, I'm going to have no problems killing it.
Now you can get up there normally instead of having to rush them. Yep.
And there's actually a handful of casters in Trollbloods that fix the speed problem without rush. Prime Borka's feat, Jarl's Quicken,
Doomshaper 2.
Doomshaper 2's feat, Prime Grim's gun. So there are ways of getting the speed up there without needing to have to rush him.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't get me wrong, Rush is a fantastic Animus too. It's just kind of a pick and choose. But I always use him as a second rank instead of a front rank, because people know he's dangerous, so they're going to pick him out and kill him if they can.
Yeah, any 5 Fury beast they're going to want to take care of right away.
Well, especially a 5 Fury beast that's packing a +3 strength Animus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like it takes a lot of work to one round a Colossal, but a Mauler is getting awfully close to it when somebody else throws that damage buff on it.
Especially when you're rocking Doomshaper 2, who can just be like, guess what, here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Run. Go.
And it's a very intimidating thing to the opponent, but it's not going to win you its games on its own accolades. Like anything else in Trollbloods, work the synergy before you expect it to win.
Sure.
But yeah, Mauler's pretty sexy.
All right, and on to the next one, Dozer and Smigg.
Alrighty, these guys are pretty new, so I'm gonna say I don't know these guys inside and out. The online community was pretty excited about them, and I'm actually lukewarm. Dozer and Smigg falls into a really weird ground. It's the same point cost as the Blitzer, and has a virtually identical stat line.
Yep.
Albeit Dozer and Smigg have one better rat, kind of, and one more point of armor. So they're a little bit tougher, but offensively, they're actually worse off than a Blitzer. The same mat value, same power and strength 15 fists, same fury 4. Their gun is 1 point stronger, but they can't get D3 shots out of it like a Blitzer can.
Correct.
So they actually don't hit as hard as a Blitzer does in most cases. And because the gun carries inaccurate, that one higher rat is actually 3 lower than a Blitzer's is. So you're not really going to be hitting with it very often. You're mostly going to be using it for the blast damage, or on things that are super easy to hit anyways, like colossals or knockdown targets.
Correct. Yeah. The good things about him, I mean, he is another Fury 4 beast, but with a really high threshold of 10.
Yeah.
But he has the ability with Gunbjorn of the Infinity, which basically makes it so he gains boosted damage rolls, which
Right.
is really solid on the AOE's. Yeah, helps out that taking Gunbjorn in the first place.
Yeah, and I've got a rant for Gunbjorn, but he's a special surprise at the end. Yeah, so Dozer and Smigg have, but they've also got that same gunfighter and virtuoso rule with the Blitzer.
Yep.
But here's the one thing that they do a little bit better than the Blitzer does, is the Blitzers can still get bogged down by infantry and get stuck because of the bad Mat Rat. Dozer and Smigg, because that gun has a blast damage roll, anything they're in base contact with, they can fire at and miss.
Yeah.
And it's not going to scatter anywhere. So anything under that 3-inch template, which is going to be 2 to 3 models if you're cluttered up in melee with Dozer, are going to take that power 7 that you can opt to boost.
Yep.
And the blast damage is not strong enough to hurt Dozer and Smigg without boosting it.
That's true.
So that's a little bit where they shine, and this is the reason I actually don't like Dozer and Smigg very much, is he's a 9-point support beast. His 2 best abilities are probably best not on him. He's got, I believe it's Inspirational Leader or something like that.
Inspiration
for Blitzers.
Our veteran leader for Blitzers.
Oh, right.
Yep.
So basically any Blitzer that can draw line of sight to Dozer and Smigg gets +2 in their attack rolls, which is a huge buff for the Blitzer.
Correct.
Going from Mat and Rat 5 to 7 is a big deal, because 5s miss a lot, 7s not so much.
7's pretty solid. Yep.
Yeah, and so if you, as an example, if you have your Blitzer charge some little schmuck and murder him, and still sees Dozer and Smigg because you angled your charge right, now you can fire off D3 shots, whatever you want at Rat 7. So if you get 2 or 3 of those shots, and your Blitzer spent 1 point of Fury so far, casters can start sweating over that.
Yep.
Because that Blitzer just moved 8 inches up the table, and is now firing another 10, assuming you didn't give it another support animus.
Yep. So he has also got his animus, which is what I think you were just about to go to, was Big Shot.
Mm-hmm.
So the target friendly model gains +2 to AOE range attack rolls, which is pretty awesome. If +2 to attack rolls, but he's already spending 2 of his. Well, it is a range.
And that's why I said his abilities aren't used best on him.
Yeah.
Because with Dozer and Smigg, he goes from effective Rat 2 to Rat 4. And he's got an AoE 3 that he can help control some of the drift, but AoE 3s, I think everybody can recognize, don't really hit too much. Unless you got some pretty... well, everybody but Andy can recognize that AoE 3s don't hit a lot without some help.
Yeah.
However, Trollbloods do have some other very good AoEs that are lurking around in the faction. The Bomber. Nobody wants to see a non-aiming Bomber be able to go up to a Rat 7 and choose how the deviations work a little bit better. Because that means that, yes, the range is still 8, but you move up your 5, you throw those bombs, and you get a bad drift that takes it back towards the Bomber. You go, no, I think I'm going to re-roll that, and suddenly it scatters on top of the Chaosi.
Yeah, the problem, I agree with you on Dozer and Smigg, to help out Blitzers, but his animus is absolutely there to help out Bombers.
Right.
Completely Bombers. It was like he's torn in between the two.
Right, and since he doesn't have a lot of offensive might in his own, he's a very, very expensive support beast to build into your army.
Yeah, I think he's more of like your 50-point games. You're going to see him maybe with like a bomber and a battle engine. I think that's what he's really built for.
That animus does wonderful things for the battle wagon.
Yeah, when I saw the affinity, or not affinity, but how he helps out the blitzers, I was like, oh cool, maybe we can get blitzers fixed up a little bit.
He does help blitzers a lot, but he's too expensive to do it.
I just feel like he's a better purchase to help your bombers and gun wagon battle wagon than he is your blitzers.
Yeah,
and I'll agree to that. I mean, it's I don't want to dismiss him yet because he's pretty new, but he's just not very. He's got a lot of really cool rules, and he can't seem to push them to any one given direction.
Yeah.
So that's the problem I've got with Dozer and Smigg, but they're pretty new, and they do have some perks. I mean, extra point of armor can be kind of handy, just because it's a little extra surprise, and the faction can already bring some pretty high armor. But let's move on to our next target. which I believe is that the Earthborn we got coming up?
Earthborn Dire Troll.
Yeah.
The absolute my favorite beast for Trollbloods.
Yeah, if there's any one model in Trollbloods that actually trolls other players, it's probably the Earthborn.
Yeah.
So he's got the exact same stat line that you see out of a Mauler, except that his fists are power and strength of 15 instead of 16.
Correct.
But he carries the same fury. He carries the same speed, strength, mat, defense, and armor. The things that set him apart are what everybody already knows. Is A is transmute. It's both his animus and it's a passive ability on him, where if he's standing near certain terrain features.
It's not the proper term. Adaptation, sir.
Okay, fine.
I think transmute. I think it was a Mark 1.
Okay, well,
Mark 1 term. Hey, we want to make sure we have proper information going out to folks. They're like, where the fuck is transmute on my Earthborn Dire Troll? I heard Troll Jeff say about it.
I was going to give our viewers enough credit to be able to put 2 and 2 together and identify what I was saying. Maybe just matched with a different term.
No.
Oh. Well then. Well, either way, he gets stat boosts for sitting near various pieces of terrain. So the most well-known one is if he stands near an obstacle or obstruction.
Oh, that one's completely different. That one is Elemental Communion.
Yeah, yeah, transmute right there is animus.
That's his animus, is transmute.
And it
but
gives him elemental communion.
Elemental communion is what he has naturally. We weren't talking about his animus.
I was.
Oh, you were?
I was.
No, okay.
Drink more.
Yeah, I think you guys might need to be separated for a minute there.
Either way, I was referring to his animus, which gives him as the possibility that's on the Earthborn. But the bonus on obstructions, the bigger one though I think is often the plus 2 inches of movement when it starts activation in difficult terrain.
Yes.
Because the Earthborn also carries natural Pathfinder, so difficult terrain and an Earthborn is free rush basically. It gives him access to rush.
Yes. Yep.
The living the dream terrain for the Earthborn is usually shallow water because it's both difficult terrain and a water feature, which kicks his defense up to 14.
A wall in shallow water is probably the best.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I don't think
No, it will happen at our events.
That's because we got Brian setting him up.
Yeah, we got Brian who has a hill with water feature in there with a forest and a wall.
Yeah, so if we put the Earthborn in the water next to the wall on the hill and he's getting shot at, if he's behind the wall, he's defense of, let's see here, 12, 14, 18 elevation. Defense 20, armor 20.
Yeah, that sounds sexy.
Yeah. It's not going to happen, so keep living the dream. But that's the big key. And the animus also works in the same kind of regards to give it to another model. So a lot of times when my list includes an Earthborn, I actually choose not to include an Axer for Rush, because I can put another beast near difficult terrain but not in it, throw the Earthborn's animus on it instead, and still get the extra 2 inches of speed. Now you want to have Pathfinder, but Pathfinder isn't always the concern. It's often the distance rather than the Pathfinder.
Correct.
So that's one of the things the Earthborn really does for you as an army. It's expensive to pass the animus around to a lot of targets, but when we've got access to a soul that can just make a wall, you can give somebody some pretty outstanding defensive stats on the cheap. But the part about the Earthborn that I think makes it the most fun is the ability on its fists, which that's what you were talking about before, the adaptation, right?
That's adaptation. Yes, I was. That is easily the best thing in the world for the Earthborn.
Yeah. So for those
or could possibly be the worst thing at sometimes.
It works for and against it. Basically, for those of you who don't know, it can take the power, not the power and strength, but the power of any melee weapon within its melee reach and apply it in place of its normal power. So normally its power on its claws are 3, but if it's standing next to a power, I believe, like 6 caber tosser, then suddenly its strength is still 12, but now it's adding a power 6 weapon on both of those claws, taking up power and strength 18 hits, and it's still got Fury 5 backing it up. You're going to take a lot of work to mimic that level of power on a given beast. It's even worse because it's already got Pathfinder, when you've stacked an offensive animus on it. The Living the Dream game I had an Earthborn that I'd put Rage on, and was able to charge Prime Severius with the Earthborn. So Prime Severius carries a Power 8 stick. He's Strength 4, but has a Power 8 staff somehow. So the Earthborn suddenly went from Strength 12 plus 8 from the stick up to Power 20, with Rage puts him at Power 23.
I can turn your dream into a nightmare.
Are you talking about the Kovas?
Yeah, Kovas with Earthborn. Oh man,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do a mixed caster game with Earthborn running around with the Kovas as his best buddy.
Yeah. Because for those of you who don't know what the Kovas doesn't have a strength, but it does have a power 14 melee weapon. So if your opponent is ever silly enough to let your Earthborn near a Kovas and swing at something else, your opponent's going to lose whatever they have.
Yeah, whatever they have is gone.
Because even without any damage boosts, it's a power and strength 26. Yeah.
Yep.
Power and strength.
Yep.
Strength 12 and 14 from the Kovas. Power and strength 26. You put rage and a Krellis on that thing, it's power and strength 30 on a 5 Fury Beast with 2 initial attacks.
Yeah, and Pathfinder.
Yes.
Yeah, that thing is the Earthborn is easily like I said it's
Yeah.
my favorite beast out there.
Now that said, those are all living the dream circumstances. The advent of Colossals have hindered the Earthborn a little bit, because most Colossals only carry a power and strength 3 or maybe a 4.
Yeah.
So it takes that Earthborn strength to a 15 or 16, which is the same ground you're standing on with a Mauler.
You just have to send your caber tosser in there.
And
first,
that's exactly
and then
what I do
Earthborn.
is I keep a caber tosser or an axer or some friendly faction model I can position to just stand close enough to the target where the Earthborn can go, can I borrow your big stick for a second, because I want to hit him with it.
Yeah, the Earthborn for me has always been like my go-to assassin when I'm dealing with high-pow casters. Like Butcher is wonderful when you're throwing an Earthborn at it.
Yeah.
That just makes him turns
Yeah,
him up
and
to
that's
11.
and that's just it too. Is when they've got one of those casters that carries a big murder stick, keeping your Earthborn back a little bit so it can threaten that caster. Because even with a full camp, those casters have to start worrying. You know,
generally.
Like I think even Terminus with a handful of souls sits at armor like 26 pretty commonly. But when you take your Earthborn and borrow his like power 6, I forget the name of the sword, but power 6 sword, he has to start worrying still. It's not as cut and dry as I'd like to think. It's like, no, you can't kill me. It's a genuine concern they have to worry about, which can give you breathing room. Even if you don't get that actual kill, the fact that they know that you can change the game dynamic.
I might mention that this sandwich is utterly delicious. It's the Colby pub burger from Culver's. So good. You should get one if you're near one.
I didn't know we had a product placement in this.
Nope, there is no product placement. I just if anybody at Culver's does ever, for some odd reason, accidentally stumble upon this, I want free food.
I'm sure they're right on it.
I'll just have to start wearing Crippled System / Culver's hats.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, such a good burger. Yeah, I'm
So-
all
so-
greasy
so-
now.
so-
And I just bumped the mic with it.
So, but like the burger, the Earthborn is really, really good. And I'm going to say it's also really greasy. It slides on the tail pretty well. But I always like when I'm fielding Earthborn, it stands very well on its own merits. It doesn't need a lot of support, but I do like to take it with some form of damage buff, be it a Maul or a Slag or a Pyre Troll.
Yeah.
Because you can't always guarantee you're going to get the big power weapon out of the opponent, or even if you can, sometimes you really want to crush them. Like it's not uncommon where like they've got 2 really good targets next to each other, and an Earthborn fully ramped up can sometimes kill them both. I've had games where there was one game I had where I had an Earthborn take out an Imperatus from full health, and that's back through the second spiral, and a light standing next to it.
Nice. Yeah, it's definitely the adaptation can destroy a lot of things if used right.
Because
And you also have to think about your positioning as you move your Dire Troll into that area.
Because the nice thing about adaptation is most of the targets you want to hit that are going to be hard are going to carry high power weapons, and most of the targets that you want to hit that aren't very hard, you don't care because you're hitting them with a power 15 weapon anyways.
Yep. All right, so we spent a lot of time on the
Because the Earthborn is one of those figures that, especially when it launched, it scared people. It was a terrifying entity. And even transitioning to Mark II, it scared a lot of people because it could just get unreal numbers if your opponent let it.
Yep.
I'm really interested in seeing how much more in the spotlight he gets just because of the plastic release, because I know when I first started I was a lot more economically minded with my trolls, so like dropping $60 on a heavy was really tough. So I was more of like my maulers and bombers and stuff, but now since we've got the Earthborn in plastic, I wonder if more economically minded players are going to start exploring the faction a little bit more just because of that.
Yeah, no, it's a very, very good beast. It's not going to replace all of your melee things, but it will. It's got a very good place in lists, especially where casters have natural speed buffs that don't grant Pathfinder.
I would rank him pretty close to a must-have, or
yeah, you should own at least one.
Well, I mean, for owning at least one, but I mean, in a normal list, I think he's very close to always include.
Yeah, you can fit him in any list, really.
Yeah, you can put him there. I think you can optimize a bit better, but yeah, he's a terror in his own right.
Yep. And speaking of terror in his own right, our next topic is the Mountain King.
Oh, okay.
So the poor bastard child of Trollbloods.
So any of you people who've ever listened to me before, it's not as bad as you think with the Mountain King.
Oh,
He's not the worst gargantuan.
He is the worst.
He's close. He's in a runner-up position, but he is not the worst. And thankfully, we've got a faction that can fix a lot of its problems. It just takes a misproportionate amount of work. So, if you're listening to this, you probably have heard all the stories about the Mountain King. The big problems the Mountain King really faces are Mat 5 and a lower than you'd expect hit point threshold. Those are the two major obstacles he faces. Everything else about him, as far as a gargantuan is concerned, is actually pretty good. He's got power and strength 19 weapons. They're both open fists still, so they can do all the fancy attacks with them.
Yep.
He is a gargantuan, so he does sweep. Can't be made stationary. He can't be pushed or slammed or whatnot. So wherever you park him, he stays until he's dead. And then he's got a really, really juicy power strength 16 spray.
That spray is actually really awesome until you realize what his rat is.
Well, and that's where I think a lot of people kind of misunderstand the Mountain King. Remember I said the Mauler's a back rank beast? So is the Mountain King. Which is really hard to say about a 20-point investment that takes up a third of your deployment zone.
That's very true. Yeah, no, I could see him being more of a support beast. I mean, he's not. I mean, he has a really awesome thing with shedding. Whenever you do damage to him, he just spits out a whelp. Has to be in base to base, so generally you should have room for him. But that can help stop charges coming into him.
Yeah, like more than one occasion, people know that they can't one-round the Mountain King with a single heavy, so they'll send in some infantry. And the infantry will cluster around to get as many hits in because they want to do as much damage as possible. But what happens is they hit with one infantry, you pop a whelp out in the spot their beast was going to go.
Yeah.
Now they got to think of a new plan. Now the clever opponent's going to find something to do to kill the whelp. Maybe another infantry member has a backup attack. Maybe they've got some range support and the whelp wasn't able to be put into a melee spot. But it takes more efforts to kill the Mountain King. It's just one more thing to push them past that threshold. And this is where the Mountain King really does shine. If your opponent doesn't kill it in one go, it's got incredible bounce back. Because every time they hurt it, it's got a whelp, and that's D3 hit points if you eat it right away. It's got snacking still. So if they sent in that infantry I was telling you about, there are 4 or 5 infantry. If you kill them all, that's 4 or 5 D3s that you just heal back.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to mention too. Is kind of a global over all the other dire trolls. They all have snacking, which is very good at the remove from play aspect.
That's a good point. We can cover a lot of that here. Is the big benefit for snacking is not usually the healing. On the Mountain King, it's a big deal, but for most of the dire trolls, a D3 is not gonna save your life here or there. But the fact that snacking removes from play before a lot of other things trigger. The joke I usually make is dire trolls eat souls. Because if they kill a model with a soul, it does not generate a corpse token because it was eaten, and for some reason it doesn't generate a soul either because it's being eaten.
Because it didn't reach that point in the disabled
apparently,
box destroyed.
The digestive, from a mechanic standpoint, but the digestive juices of a troll are so powerful they digest souls.
Literally, will swallow your soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other side effects that this also does as well. Like, it happens before someone can reave. So if someone had a big beast with 5 health that's in your way, and normally what happens is you kill the beast, they've reaved the fury, and then they've got transfers so you can't do the assassination run. The dire troll that's injured does that, and that's the catch. You do have to be hurt to snack because you have to be able to heal. But the dire troll that does that eats the fury too.
Yeah,
and so no reaving.
That goes the same thing with with if you're going against like casters like Asphyxious 2 or Thagrosh, if you're able to eat that beast with snacking, I mean, even if you plink 1 point of damage onto your guy just so you can snack, and that's an important fact to know, is that you have to at least be able to
heal for one.
To heal for some damage to do a snack. But taking off Thagrosh's beast, that one Archangel that he has.
There have been multiple circumstances where I have had, like playing against Thagrosh or who's the Pharaoh undead one? Is that Midas?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with Midas, because he's got another bring back some dead beasts routine as well, is I'll take my Krellstone and I'll activate it so I can have the Strength Aura going, and I'll charge the Stone Scribes into the back of my War Beast, because the charge is going to do usually 2 to 5 points of damage. You could do worse, but something like that. Now my beast is hurt. I go forth. I kill whatever I was going to kill. Ideally, dice happen.
Mm-hmm.
I snack on it. I fix some of the damage up, and now that beast is removed from play, so it's not eligible to be brought back in any way, shape, or form.
That is pretty intense. That was not something I knew.
Yeah, no. Snacking is like one of those really good hidden rules, because 5 out of 6 games it's not going to do a thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
It just will not. It will not even surface.
Yeah, and then somebody has mentioned too that Martyrdom does trump snacking as well, because that's unboxed instead of disabled.
Right. And like that's just it. Things can stop it, but
something. Yeah.
Well, I think Martyrdom's like when it takes enough damage to be boxed.
Yeah. Yep.
So I mean, it will still stop it, and it's not a surefire thing, but it does mess with people really badly. Back when Morvana first launched, and she was just bringing back armies. With the Mountain King in particular, actually, I got my Mountain King into a handful of those Ravagers, and I swept and I murdered 3 or 4 of them after I had bruised up my Mountain King and stopped her from bringing them back. And the opponent wasn't particularly happy about that, but the Mountain King was feeling pretty good.
We should mention the Mountain King has a unique Animus for at least Trollbloods. Has the Amok Animus, which is great for all power attacks. It just makes it so when he actually does decide he's going to do a sweep, he's going to have it all boosted, which is pretty sexy.
Another one people don't actually realize, too, is when you do a two-handed throw with the Muck, both the attack roll to grab the opponent and the throw on the target are boosted, because the throw on the target is still a melee attack roll. Mm-hmm. It's not a melee attack, but it's a melee attack roll, so a Muck will still boost it.
Nice.
And that gets to some of the other synergies that you can actually pull off with the Mountain King. We didn't cover it, but remember that Power 10 spray I was talking about? He's got Kill Shot as well. So if he removes from play or destroys an enemy living model with a melee attack, he can use the ranged shot. So what you can actually do with the Mountain King is use his own Animus on himself, grab something. I don't really care what. It can even be one of the whelps he spawned because your opponent beat him up. You can, and this won't work with Kill Shot, so you usually want an opponent, fling him into an opponent caster or important target. You hit the target, ideally, because you've got everything boosted. If you kill the model you threw with the attack, because it took a power and strength 15 bare minimum from the Mountain King, maybe super boosted because of the Super Slam, and kill it, it was still killed with a melee attack. So you can fire off the Kill Shot.
Yeah.
I obliterated a Kane player by doing that once, where I grabbed a figure and threw it at Kane. Now, I happened to miss Kane, but my scatter got good. It still hit Kane, knocked him over, the model I threw still died, and I was able to throw power and strength 16 spray over a knocked down Kane that I was able to boost. So
that's going to murder.
Yeah. And that's just it, is the real power behind the Mountain King is not that it's going to destroy your opponent's army, the fact that it will go in and it will cause a problem, and it will snipe out important pieces when they're not paying attention to it. Most of my best victories with the Mountain King have not been because he's killed his points, but because he went in, held up a unit or maybe a Jack or a Beast, and then killed Iana and Halt, or murdered Eris, or Gorman. Because the other thing is that range 10 gun is a spray, so stealth and cover and concealment don't count for diddly.
One of the other nice things about the Mountain King that it took me just a couple games to really figure it out or realize it, because I read really fast when I look at my rules, is that a muck is not a self thing, So you can always take your casters that really don't do a whole lot, like Borka, and just be like Amok. Because when you see the cost for 1 Fury for Amok, you're just like, oh, well, the Mountain King will do it because it's just 1 Fury, whatever.
Yep.
But that 1 extra attack at POW 19 can really help.
Yeah, it makes a very, very big difference. And, I mean, it can be applied to other things as well. Like, the most common use is you put it on an Axer, and he'll Thresh, and he'll get all boosts on it. Or, it's not as common, but the same thing as the Mountain King will do one thing, and there's another support beast a little farther away. Mountain King puts Amok on the support beast moves up, headbutts a target, caster moves in for the kill. Because that'll save 1 more point of fury, and the headbutt is boosted. So it can get a lot of mileage out of the King. Now, the problem is it needs a lot of help, and it will not work with all the casters and Trollbloods very well. It is squishy, so your biggest objective when you're fielding the Mountain King is to make sure your opponent can't kill it in one go. They can mangle it, they just can't be allowed to kill it. So that's why I feel that the Mountain King really is a second-rank beast, because by the time the front line is dead, the Mountain King can pick up some pieces, and in an ideal circumstance, your opponent won't have enough to retaliate anymore. So your opponent is now stuck with this beast in the middle of the table that can reach out and touch anything it really wants with that 10-inch spray. So if you can keep it alive, it's very, very dangerous. Another kind of misstep that's made with the Mountain King is people think that when it spawns whelps, you have to eat them. Often when my opponent plinks the Mountain King early on, I will not eat those whelps. Those whelps will run off to other beasts, or they will trail the Mountain King to get rid of the Fury sitting on it.
True, yeah.
So even if you spawn 7 whelps, I don't recommend eating them all. Leave 1. So you've got a backup plan with it. So you can use the whelp to maybe block a charge lane. Maybe you need to fix up an aspect on some other war beast. Maybe you just need to get rid of the Fury and the Mountain King the following turn, but don't eat all your whelps. Obviously, there's an exception to every rule, so sometimes, yes, eat all the whelps. But
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm burping and kind of hiccuping at the same time. My bad.
I think you might be doing it wrong.
Yeah.
One of the really fringe scenarios with the Mountain King that's nice too to pay attention to, or whelps in general, I guess, is just like Moser I recently had a game against, and the whelps ignore his feet. So if you've got somebody cranked up to 11 on their Fury, and Moser feats, those whelps aren't leeching it off of him; they're just getting rid of it. So it's nice to have that backup.
Yeah, and so I mean that's what you really have to kind of do. And even once the Mountain King's dead, those whelps can be actually a surprising boon. There have been more of a couple games where the opponent has thrown basically their army into the Mountain King, and so there's this half ring of opponent's troops and this other half ring of whelps, and the following turn those whelps just form a literal wall in front of those infantry, so they can't progress any further. Now there is a catch on that.
Yeah.
In that those whelps also can provide the opponents both corpses and souls. So be really, really careful when you're playing against factions that benefit off of kills, because those are squishy targets that are easy to get at.
Yeah.
Berserking, they just proc berserking too if you're looking at somebody who's just trying to get rid of them.
Yep, they proc berserking. The biggest problems I've had are usually soul gathering effects, where the opponent will just barrel into them, murder them all, and get a handful of souls, and then live happily with themselves because they've got 7 souls that weren't even on the board before their turn started.
Yep.
But yeah, the Mountain King is not ideal. It's not as easy to use as a Storm Wall. It's not as bluntly as effective as a Conquest is. But it can get work done. You just have to build your list around it without making your list require it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very good support piece. It's an odd thing where something like a Colossal is going to be really a support piece, and he excels when he has a mound of troops in front of him where he's able to just kind of pick and choose his battles rather than being the focal point.
And like I said, and it's his biggest threat is when your opponent doesn't know how to stop him from getting to the important stuff. Because when he's a second line trooper, all he needs to do to get a kill shot off is squish one dude, kill shot off, go halfway through the opponent's ranks. So that's the Mountain King. For those of you who can actually hear that, that's not the liquor pouring into the cup. Andy's making a mess.
I don't know how much I should. I should probably stop.
Well, I mean,
getting the largest glass on the table is not a good idea.
You pour like a heavy-handed old woman. Just like, I hate my life.
Well, this is
Well, how do you know? You know so much about me already.
actually, that doesn't remind me though.
Oh, you gonna put some more Fireball into your mix?
That was
All
really
right,
good.
so it's a good segue here off the Mountain King onto probably, in my opinion, the best troll that dire
Yeah.
troll. And actually, well, he himself proclaims himself the best dire troll ever.
Says so on his Rocky tattoos.
Yeah, and that would be Mulg the Ancient,
Yes.
Uh,
So,
our first and only reach troll
for the heavies,
for the
Yeah,
heavies.
for
Yeah,
heavies. We got,
unless
like,
you count the
an
Mountain
extra.
King. The Mountain King's got reach.
yeah. Well, you didn't count the Mountain King. We just had a nice 20-minute discussion about the Mountain King.
Yeah.
But he doesn't count.
It had to be had. He gets a bad rap.
Yeah. Either way, so Mulg is probably, like what I said, the best Trollblood war beast we've got. He's got almost the same identical stat line as a Mauler does, except with one better mat, one less speed, one less defense, one more armor, so it's not really identical. But he's got more boxes, and he's more durable, and the 1-point cost in speed he loses, he makes up for with a reach. And to top it all off, good stuff?
A little strong.
That's the point.
Oh, that was the Long Island iced tea mix.
That's
I
the
thought
Long
you were just like pouring whiskey into it, and I was like, "Whoa, Andy, you got to finish this thing."
Oh no!
We were just going to prop him up with some strings.
Well, I'll just be like,
We'll poke you every once in a while, make sure you're not dead.
yeah. I mean, make sure I'm not lying on my back.
Right.
So just prop me on my side. I'll
Yeah.
be fine.
That was
Just
good.
need a detox kit or something,
That's called sleep.
or Epicac.
We'll have a follow-up podcast tomorrow called the Sleep It Off Cast. It'll just be you on the couch on your side.
Here's the food I make when I'm hungover.
But Mulg, Mulg does everything you want Mulg to do. So his big drawback is he's a character. Yeah, so you can't put him on all your lists. And the second biggest drawback is he's so good and so easy to use, it limits your gameplay if you're not careful with him. So let me elaborate on that. So Mulg is speed 4, but he's got reach. He's got a power and strength 19 club.
Yeah, club
With-
of smiting. As
Yeah,
well.
it's got crit smite on it, and so that's the highest natural power and strength weapon in the game outside of the Mountain King, which is tied. He's got Fury 5 to back it up, Mat 7 to back it up, and you can crank it up higher really easily with a Mauler or a Pyre Troll or anything. And then he's got, just as a bonus, a power and strength 17 fist he likes to punch people with on the side if they're close enough.
Mm-hmm.
Then he's got a handful of rules that make him get where he wants to go. If you hit his controlling caster and hurt him, Mulg gets to move towards whatever did the damage and take a swipe.
Yep,
And
protective fit. The one thing that should be known, though, it is directly towards that model. So,
Yeah, your opponent can mitigate it, but if you've got Mulg standing like 2 inches to the side of your caster, they usually give it a second thought before they go in for that kill.
or even after they go for that second attack. After,
Yeah.
because protective fit is not a once a turn
No.
game thing. It is a continuous. So if you keep on beating on his caster, Mulg will keep on beating on you, and then you will be a pulp.
Yeah, and here's the thing too: is even when you transfer damage, even though the caster's not the one who took the damage, he was still hurt, so it still triggers protective fit.
Correct.
So if someone's going like, well, he's only got 2 Fury for transfers, and then Mulg is standing there, they have to survive Mulg swinging twice before you do any real damage to them, and there's always a chance Mulg might crit smite the person and knock them away anyways.
Yeah, because crit smite is not during activation either. It's
No.
just on swing. Yeah.
And then to make matters worse, your opponent has to kind of ignore Mulg because he's got I forget the name of the rule, but if an enemy hurts Mulg with an attack, Mulg gets +2 speed during the following activation.
It's relentless. Yeah,
Relentless, yeah.
a lot of troll models actually have something like that. Something similar to that. Like the warders have got something similar to relentless, where they gain speed and armor or
They don't get
strength,
speed.
or they get strength
They
and
get
armor.
Strength, armor, and
Yeah.
Pathfinder, which is quasi speed.
Yeah,
But yeah, so like your opponent is stuck in this really awkward spot with Mulg, where they can't. If they're gonna shoot at him, they have to make sure he's dead, because speed 6 Mulg will get wherever he wants to go and kill you.
yeah.
So you top off all those awesome rules. He still has snacking, and then he's got one of the better animi Trollbloods have as well with Runebreaker. For a cost of 2, anything within the command range of the model using it, which for Mulg I think is it's a 6, yeah. Nothing fantastic.
6, yep.
But if you have it on a caster like Madrak or Borka, yeah.
Doom Shaper all day.
Yeah.
A Doom Shaper's not really that far either. He's
oh,
like,
wait, I'm sorry. I was thinking about
nobody
Control
listens to
for
Doom
some
Shaper.
reason.
Yeah.
He's Troll Hitler.
But like my favorite one for that is usually Grizzle 2, because she's got a command of 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a 9-inch bubble of no casting spells and dispelling animi is really nice.
Pretty solid. Yep.
So here's why all that's a problem.
What?
Is,
You forgot one of the other cool things too. If he's hanging around with his best buddy, Kroll,
yeah,
which is
not food,
not loosely translated from Dire Troll to be not food. Kroll being Doom Shaper. If he's in his battle group, Mulg also gets another attack on top of his normal Fury 5 mechanic. So he gets a total of 8 attacks on something if he just walks in.
Yeah,
this is pretty nasty.
Yeah, that's harsh.
And you don't even need that to have him be nasty.
Yeah.
So the reason all this is actually a problem is because he is so brutal. He has got a reputation. So opponents will do a lot to mitigate him. They will do everything they can to kill him before he can do anything substantial, which isn't easy, but they'll do it. And they will take extra steps because of all those sneaky rules that are in there. They'll take some extra steps to kind of mitigate those. Furthermore, if you get too used to using Mulg in his own right, you don't know how to handle your army when you don't have Mulg to do it for you.
Yeah,
he's I don't like to go back to it, but he is very much a crutch figure in terms of he gets put into a lot of lists he doesn't necessarily belong just because he's that good.
Yeah, in the recent Steamrollers, they have the character restrictions, which helps you as a troll player think a little bit outside of the box. But yeah, honestly, I mean, I think Mulg pretty much belongs with, if you have any list with Doom Shaper, that's where he belongs, and then you can fit other beasts into whatever caster's list you're taking on these.
And there's some notable exceptions where Mulg does provide a little bit of extra oomph for non-Doom Shaper casters. I think he's got a really good place with Borka 2.
Sure.
He does really well with Jarl and Grim 1 because they've got some natural range enhancements to him. But yeah, like a lot of people will take Mulg with like Prime Madrak because he can do the Thresher thing through the entire army with Madrak's feet. But when you're doing that, most war beasts can accomplish about the same thing with Carnage going for them. And so you don't really need to invest in Mulg to do that. You can get away with that with even a light in some cases.
Yeah, usually with Madrak's feet, you're looking more at like clearing out a bunch of infantry to go crazy. But if you're using a POW 19 guy to do it, I think that's misappropriation of your points.
Yeah, and I mean, while Mulg is capable of killing 2 heavies, you can do that in any given army.
Yeah,
you know, and oftentimes it's capable, not likely. So,
I also feel like Mulg is one of the reasons why some Trollblood players of the Doom and Gloom variety hate on the Mountain King so much, because they're like, if I pay like 8 points more, I think it is, I get Mulg, and he's kind of better.
Well, it's 8 points
or
less.
8 points less.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, and it's and that's a very big thing that goes against the Mountain King. It's just Mulg is so outstanding. He is hands down the best beast in the Trollblood army.
Yeah, he's like the behemoth of the troll.
I would go even one step. I would go even one step past that. He does so much more that none of our other beasts are even capable of.
Yeah, we have no other reach beast, and he's the only one.
Oh yeah, and that club is a magic weapon.
Yeah,
just because it says some magic words on it, so hitting you with a tree wasn't bad enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, he does so much
He's just
more.
Trying to say hello. That's all. That's how Mulg says hello. Yeah. Because it hits you with your club.
Well,
if
I mean,
you
when
survive,
his best friend is named Not Food, it kind of gives you a good indication.
Yeah.
Also, I will say that Mulg is probably the best appropriation of the use for an extreme dire troll mauler.
Oh yeah, his original sculpt is if we're talking a modeling part, is pretty bad. He takes up way too much real estate than what normal models should. So he's very difficult to line up in base to base. Making him with like an extreme is usually the best way to go, because that way you can mitigate that real estate that they take up.
Well, and you also get the little scenic base that they give you if you prop that up a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a pretty good chance you never have to take your Mulg off the table, which is like maybe 40-ish% why you play the game anyways.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's Mulg's biggest problem is Mulg is too good. I think that's basically the issue with him.
Yeah. Well, the somebody did just mention too is that Mulg's Animus absolutely shuts down Butcher 3.
How? Order's
Butcher,
still allowed.
Butcher 3 can't
he can't.
cast spells, which means he can't murder everything in this area.
And you don't need to necessarily use Mulg to do that too. You can some clever walling and a caster can pull it off. But yeah. So it's once again, Mulg's biggest problem is Mulg's too good. So he does it so well that people overlook other options that could also do that aren't Mulg. So then they're handicapping other lists that could better benefit from him.
I think if we had like another reach non-colossal heavy, that maybe some of the crutching on Mulg would go off. But I think that's probably one of the big things that I hear from other troll players is that we don't have any reach heavies other than Mulg and the Mountain King.
Yeah. It's rather frustrating, but it's what you can do.
What it is.
Yeah.
Until they actually put it up. So let's talk about let's go directly from awesome model, probably the best in trolls, to the Night Troll.
No, we got other heavies to cover, don't we?
No, we're going down the list of beasts.
All right. So the Night Troll.
So basically, as you learn now, that all the heavies are basically higher in alphabetical order than all the lights. Because the only other heavy down the list here is Rock.
Yes, that's what I was saying. I thought we were going from Mulg to Rock, but no.
Nope.
Right,
we go to the Night Troll.
The Night Troll. Okay. Night Troll.
Fighter of the Day Troll.
Doesn't do very well at it. The Night Troll admittedly has some problems.
Well, he does have problems. Let's talk about the benefits of the Night Troll.
Okay.
He's got Eye of Sight.
Right.
He's got Stealth.
Yeah, that actually is a big deal.
His Animus is something.
His Animus
is one of a kind.
It is kind of it's like kind of neat to have a Gaze of Menoth in your army.
Let's go into that. So his Animus is the generic brand Gaze of Menoth. It's only range 5. It only affects living non-caster models.
Correct.
And it's a self-only Animus. So what it does is anything that's within that 5-inch range must move towards the Night Troll during their activation. Or sorry, it has been errated from the original text. So when they do an advance, they must advance towards the Night Troll.
Sure.
So the perks are usually like the whole no, you have to pay attention to the Night Troll and not per se Mulg like we were just talking about, or things like the Mullet Karn sidestep to kill. Mullet Karn may not start off his kill run close enough, but if Mullet Karn is in that 5-inch bubble when it wants to sidestep, suddenly it has to sidestep towards the Night Troll because apparently Mullet Karn likes night lights and what have you.
It's pretty.
Get it? Night light because it's a light troll.
I don't know if you could hear my disappointment shake there, but yeah, it was pretty disappointment.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the Animus, and it's one of a kind. It's not found in anything else in the game right now.
It does have some really, really cool claws on it, though.
Oh yeah, the model's fantastic.
No, I'm talking about Wicked Claws.
Oh yeah,
the models that it hits, it has paralysis.
Yep. So
I have not drank enough yet.
Once again, on a living model, if they hit, it is reduced to defense 7, and then it can't run or charge, and that's for 1 round.
Which is pretty sexy. I mean,
it turns off some strange things. It usually just makes it easier for you to murder whatever you tapped the first time.
Sure.
Now here's the funny thing about those Wicked Claws: they're not open fists. Apparently, not cutting your fingernails means you can't grab things anymore.
Yeah, well, have you seen somebody try to grab something with the super long fingernails?
They have like an assistant with them all the time.
Yeah.
With bags and stuff.
The people have the dialing wands for their phones. What? Yeah, the Mountain King, or not the Mountain King, the Night Troll can't do any of the cool 2-handed power attacks, or even the 1-handed power attacks. It's got a couple other neat little abilities like Man Eater, where it can charge living models without having to be forced. But its best rule of everything is it's a 4-point light beast. It's one of 2 the Trollblood have. It's a beast that you can have for 4 points that is not 100% useless.
It's the only thing in Trolls that has stealth?
That is stealth naturally, yeah.
Yep.
And that's where some of the synergies can come up. I was playing a game Wednesday where I used the Night Troll having stealth to stop a Prime Axiom from dragging my Dire Troll. is I put my Night Troll in front of my Mauler, like
Sure.
right in front of him.
Yep.
And he couldn't shoot. He couldn't opt to charge. He was just too far away for that. But he could have moved and shot. He can't shoot the Night Troll. Night Troll had stealth.
Yep.
He can shoot. He can still shoot the Mauler.
It's not going to drag.
But it's not going to drag. It's
past
going to
the
hit
Nitro.
clip the other model.
Yeah.
I think probably one of the things that confuses me the most about the Night Troll when I look at him is I can't tell whether he's like your forward moving beast where you want him up there because of his animus, or if you want him to hang back a little bit so he can try and help some of your not accurate guys hit.
Both.
I know, it's crazy.
It's which depending on how your game is going. So if your opponent has a really big nasty jam coming your way and you know it, then you want him out to be front. You want him to be up there to cut off part of the jam. You want him to be there to take the hit. He'll die horribly, but if it means that another 7 or 8 models don't make it, into the control zone, it was worth 4 points.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever walked past a table where your Night Troll has suffered a horrendous death of some way or another.
Oh yeah, well that same game where he wasn't dragged, the following turn he literally ran up to to that prime axiom to stop him from walking into the zone. He just parked his big troll face there and went, "I'm a Night Troll, smush me."
Yeah, but your champion got that job much better than he did.
Well, yeah, but that was the following round. And rule number 1 on Trollbloods: never count on tough.
Never count on tough until until it makes your opponent rage quit about it.
Yeah,
it's tough, not indestructible.
So no, the game that we were talking about. So he had a prime axiom that was going to try to move into a zone, but couldn't move into the zone because he had one troll champion in his face, and then which he ran through all the focus on the prime axiom. Jeff made like 5 tough checks in a row.
Those are always the good times when you're playing trolls.
Yeah, it's my tough checks are normally not that crazy, and the way my tough checks normally work is my army dies and one dude nobody cares about makes 8 of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
This time that one dude happened to be in the way.
The one guy that needed it. Yep.
I think my super tough guy is my drummer for my Fen Blades. That thing never dies, and I just really don't care.
Yep.
It's like whoop-de-doo.
You have no weapon, buddy. You're like, "Yeah, but
He
I
doesn't
got
want
a
to
drum."
die. He just wants to bang in his drum all day.
Exactly. I think that's why he's wearing the bandage on his head. He must have taken a rope. He's like reverted back to his childhood.
Yeah. But we digress. Yeah, the Night Troll is not usually optimal. For 4 points, I'd usually rather take a Swamp Troll because I think it does more.
Yeah.
But the Night Troll has its place, and usually its best place is when you've got out-of-activation movement shenanigans. Like the big one I use him with is actually Prime Grizzle. You can actually hoof at him. A lot of people don't realize that you can hoof at your beasts. So you can have your Night Troll, if you want him to, use his Animus, charge a living model for free, and then with hoof it, move another 5 inches. And so you can really ram them in their throat, and if they're living, they go,
force that unit instead of actually charging something that's important
Charging
to
your
charge the 4-point Night Troll, and then your something important goes and kills them.
Right, exactly. And she also has Hallowed Avenger, which never really gets used in most cases. But if the opponent kills a friendly faction model within, I think, 6 inches of you cast the Night Troll, Night Troll can charge something. So suddenly that 5-inch bubble that was not threatening anything can sometimes suddenly get in the way.
That's a nice trick to utilize his Animus better.
Yeah, and so that's really where he does his best. Some other things can happen with like tactical supremacy from Jarl, or there's a couple other movement shenanigan things you can do, but that's where he does the best. Otherwise, throw him away because he's not good, but throw him away that makes your opponent suffer for it.
Sure. All right. We've been going on for just an hour now since I actually started recording, so...
Well, we still have a lot to cover. We're not even through the beast yet.
Yeah, we still have a lot to cover.
One of the asides on the Night Troll, and I know I don't want to hang on aesthetics too much, is like I think the Night Troll is one of the very first trolls that we get to see where the look of it is extremely different from what we normally see in a troll.
Yeah.
You know, like you've got your Swamp Troll who's like, I'm a fat troll, whatever, and your Storm and all that other stuff, but the Night Troll really has this crazy unique look to him, and I want to see more of that in the faction, especially with heavies.
I'd like to, yeah. Talking about weird heavies, though, I want a 2-shielded heavy. I want a heavy Dire Troll to run around with just 2 giant shields on him.
Really, because the Dire Troll heavy I want is actually another fat troll that has a gaff to pull things. He's just gotten too fat from eating too much, and he just has his reaching stick. Hey, come here!
Can it be one of those gophers with like a Tyrannosaurus Rex head on it?
The grabby claws. Maybe I want to eat you. Get in my mouth.
That was my favorite things about going to the Milwaukee Public Zoo.
I was just getting the
Little dinosaur heads grabbers. Was it the zoo or the museum? I can't remember. Yeah, either.
Mine usually came from the arcade.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna drop off of the night troll. Go over to the best troll. In my opinion,
he's one of the better ones.
He's probably my favorite light troll that you take as an option.
He's definitely the easiest one to put in any list.
Yes,
absolutely.
He fits in every list. I mean, granted, obviously we're going to get over to the Axer, and the Axer is going to be he's basically in every list anyway. But Pirate Troll, I think, can fit everywhere.
Yeah. So what the Pirate Troll excels at is he's got like the generic troll stat line. Nothing about him, as far as his melee capabilities or defensive capabilities, are any different than any other troll.
Yeah, his Brad is only 4, his Matt is only 5, so he's kind of...
Right. 2 power and strength 12 open fists, which are good. But what he does is he packs a damage-boosting animus that grants immunity to the most common elemental damage type, being fire.
Yes.
So the Pirate Troll can simultaneously buff your caster's damage while making them immune to a lot of nasty retribution, particularly from Menoth and Legion. So he can protect key models that way, being just immune to fire. I have pissed off a lot of Legion players just by putting my caster in a stupid position on purpose and going, Pirate Troll uses Animus on it. Like, so I can't Ravagore it? Well, you can.
You can. It just won't do any damage.
Right.
Suck it, Legion.
Can't assault with the Carnivorous? Well, once again, you can, but...
Hey, you know what? With the Pirate Troll Animus, it basically makes Legion useless trash.
Well, I mean, if you listen to Jeremy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it does that, and it's a damage boost to top things off. So that's really helpful. And then as far as other capabilities, it usually kind of sits back in most games until you need it for something important. It lobs an 8-inch AOE with automatic fire, which is why you use it, not for the damage.
He tends to buff the heavies that are going to be going out and doing the damage, and then he just kind of sits back. He can get stuff done himself.
Yeah,
but
he's more of a creature of last resort than anything else.
He does well with me because I'm very good with my AoEs. So generally, I will drift that auto fire AoE over the top of anything awesome.
Yeah. So for those of us who aren't so lucky, it's still good to throw around. Remember that his animus, because it does grant immunity to fire, if something is in combat with another one of your models that's really important, put your animus on that important model, then hawk your AoE into the firefight. Quite literally a firefight.
He's immune in general anyway.
Yeah, he is, but the person you're trying to fire at is not.
True. Very true.
So you've got ways of getting around some of that kind of trouble zone area. Another good example is because of immunity to cold. I really pissed off a Thagrosh player once because he killed some things with some eruptions of ash, expecting my like 1 hit point champion to not want to run into it.
Oh, so then you put down his animus.
Yep, and then the champion went right into that cloud, and Thagrosh did not live to see the next one.
Nice.
So there's a lot of application. Some of the other things that you can always do with your Pirate Troll is don't forget your power attacks. Something gets too close, headbutt, two-handed throw.
Yeah, he has two open fists, which is pretty sexy.
And even though it's not a very common power attack to use, even arm locks can be really helpful in a lot of light beasts. Somebody's rake gets too close, you're not going to hit it enough to kill it, but you grab its tail and suddenly it gets a little pouty. And then the other big thing is keep in mind if your opponent does get to it, don't forget its burns rules, where if they hit the Pirate Troll and don't kill it, they're lit on fire. It may not mean much. They might get killed from something else before their continuous effect comes up, but don't forget about it. It's there, and it can be a tide turner when someone goes in with the last couple of important figures. They kill your Pirate Troll, but then they burn to death the round afterwards.
Yeah, it definitely fire is a pretty big game changer.
Yeah, but other than that, there's not too much to say about the Pirate Troll, and they're just generally good. It fits in most lists. It does see competition with a couple other beasts, so if you've got a Mauler or a Slag Troll, putting a Pirate Troll in may not be your best bet, but that's more of a more optimized circumstance rather than a problem with the Pirate Troll.
Yeah, no, he's easily my favorite of the light beasts.
Easiest to put in any given list. So I'm willing to bet our next one.
Our next one is I wasn't ready because I was too busy talking about the Pirate Troll.
Fire.
So,
Rock.
Actually, the interesting thing that Dave over in Sweden said is that umlaut that's in his name actually is pronounced
Ooh.
So it's Rurk.
Rurk.
It's actually good to know because I've wondered.
Yeah, I mean, well, but I mean that's what that generally that
the
is.
lazy American in me just said like R O and K. No.
Yeah. So I wonder if they usually Privateer does pronounce their things correctly when you talk to them, like Wishnailer is not Wishnailer, it's Wishnailer. And some of the other characters have.
Oh no,
their
that's
specific
absolutely intentional on
pronunciation.
their part. I mean, that's part of the fluff. He's supposed to be a northern troll, and come from that kind of culture basis. So.
Yeah, so I'm curious if that's how they pronounce it, is Rook instead of Rock, which everyone does.
If you're used to it, it's probably easy. I'm gonna struggle to pronounce it right, but I'm gonna make a point to try.
It makes me feel better about not calling him Rook all the time because it just reminds me of Dragon Age 1 and that little dwarf that's all crazy from eating.
The comparison seems like a long stretch to me.
It is, but it's just all I can think of. So
that's fair. But yeah, it's actually good to know. Is he our next up on the agenda?
He is.
He is.
Alrighty.
I'm not going to be able to put the umlaut in there though, but he'll be in there for the next pick.
Well, we just covered what it's actually pronounced as, so people will be able to figure it out.
Yep. There we go. So the second character beast to come out for Trollbloods.
Yep, and he's actually pretty solid. He gets overshadowed a lot because he's not Mulg.
Yes.
But he's basically if you take a dire troll mauler, give him an axe, and give him Mat 7, you've got Rock.
Mat 7 with a really awesome spray, Frost Breath. He has Assault with that Frost Breath as well. I believe, does it have a critical hit?
Critical stationary.
Critical stationary, yep.
And that has turned games for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, packing a nice high power weapon, a backup decent weapon, an extra attack on the charge because of Assault.
Yeah.
And then he's actually got the 4th damage buffing animus in Trollbloods being Primal.
Yeah. Which was normally seen on the Gorax for Circle.
Now, admittedly, the Gorax is a
And
better
minions.
beast to have Primal, but Rock does a good enough job with it. Rock is another spot where I often use him a lot like the Mauler, only for a beast-heavy army.
Okay.
What I really do with Rock is I field him a lot with Blitzers and Bombers and Impalers and all those other trolls which aren't supposed to be in the melee fight. And Rock will actually sit back himself and go, that Bomber over there is pissed. Now he's Mat 7, Power 17. So the Bomber goes in and does some stuff. And maybe the Bomber succeeds at killing the opponent, maybe the Bomber doesn't. But the Bomber does some serious damage, which he was going to be out of the game practically anyways. He was going to get stuck in the melee fight. He was close enough where the bombs may not have killed something. The Bomber was mostly out of the game. Rock has fixed that problem. And if the opponent's not dead, they're damn close, and Rock is still there. So I'm already pronouncing it Rook.
Well, Dave then posted here is that he thinks that it's the O as in Motorhead, because the second O in Motorhead has got umlaut on it as well.
But
and then or Motley Crue, which is so it could be
those are both American bands though, so they can put
no. What are you talking about? Motorhead is completely British. I will kill you.
An English band.
I'm
sorry.
leaving. I'm done. I'm gonna go take a piss.
All right, this just got a lot easier. Well, pronunciation issues aside, yeah, Rock often operates a lot like my Maulers do as a back row beast, but he helps out a battle group a lot more.
Yeah, I played when I first started getting into trolls. For some reason, I had the craziest mishmash of models and casters because it all came secondhand to me.
Oh, that'll happen.
Yeah, so my main experience with Ruck has been with Epic Doomshaper. And I think when you put those two together, they do some interesting things because you get, your boosted with spell that boosts attack.
Wild Aggression.
Yeah, Wild Aggression. And then with Primal on Ruck, you have an interesting thing where you can you mitigate the problems with Berserk, plus not being able to Fury through a lot of it, and not having reach by goading him. Maybe
Right.
I said that weird. But like when you don't have when you don't have to worry about buying the attacks when he's mulching through troops or something, that goad really helps him get there with Berserk into better positions. So I think that's it's a really interesting way to utilize him as somebody who really sweeps through infantry under Doomshaper too.
and that's the one thing to really kind of note with Ruck is he's good at killing a lot of infantry, but really only does so with Doomshaper's influence because of gold.
Yeah.
But similarly, remember that if Rook is injured, you can use snacking to stop his berserk.
Yeah.
Because if you remove from play a figure, it's not destroyed, so you don't get berserk.
Exactly. It gives him a little bit of extra.
It gives you some
More
control,
control,
if
yeah.
you've got something dangerous nearby or what have you. But the one thing I often don't do with Rook is I actually don't use Primal on him very often. He
Yeah.
doesn't usually need it. Mat 7's usually good enough, and then Power and Strength 18 on his axe is also usually good enough. So Primal puts him at an unnecessary danger zone for frenzying when you might be able to get more done. The other thing that people often forget about Rook is that Assault Spray doesn't have to be used with an Assault. You can just use it as a ranged attack. I've had a couple overconfident Legion players with Saren try to jam me with the "you can't target me with melee attacks" routine. I actually turned right around with Rook and actually sprayed down a couple of beasts.
Yeah.
And I was able to muster enough other ranged firepower and killed a couple of beasts, and the opponent just stopped and went, I was not expecting that.
I don't think people expect him a lot just because they have that character Mulg thing going on, and they're like, oh, well, nobody plays that guy because...
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, spots where someone's have jammed enough infantry in the way where I can't get Ruck to a particularly sensitive target I want him to kill, forfeit movement, aim, spray.
Yeah.
I've had some wonderful games where people didn't know what to do when I've took both Rock and Mulg in the same list.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They both
especially with Doom Shaper, that's ugly.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they both get work done, and I think he's really he doesn't get a lot of credit where he really should get more.
It's because he steps on a lot of other beasts' toes.
Yeah, well, he's points cost.
He's a mini Mulg. He's a beast specific Mauler. He replicates a lot of what a Pyre Troll and a Slag Troll already does. It's just you use him to create a cost savings by not including those extra figures.
Forget what his affinity's all about.
He doesn't have one.
Oh,
He doesn't have one.
Right. He's just special issue, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. His affinity is murder.
Yeah.
His ability is infinity that he will work with any other Trollblood caster.
Right.
Exactly, and do what he does.
So yeah, and it's the only time I'll usually take Rook is in a spot where he is helping the other beasts. On his own, outside of the Doom Shapers, I wouldn't mess with him much.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if you went over it. Doom Shaper with Goad with him
Yeah,
is actually really sexy.
Berserk, Berserk, and Berserk.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with him having immunity to cold as well, I wonder if Borka 2 is going to get some love with him.
Well, I mean, Borka 2 gives everybody who's in his battle group love.
Oh, maybe I just don't play him enough.
And he's pretty new. Nobody plays him enough. Yeah. So he doesn't. The big thing he does for Borka 2 is with the counter charges. If you put Primal on something and it goes and kills something, it maintains the mat and strength boost until the following round.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's got a higher mat and strength for the counter charge. That's the biggest thing that Ruck really does. Also, the counter charges with Ruck can spray still.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the big things that happens. But otherwise, yeah, he doesn't actually have a lot of real synergy with Borka. It's kind of weird.
Just drinks.
Yeah, that's the best synergy that they come up with.
I think I'm definitely feeling something now.
Hands above table. Yeah, so I mean that's Rook or Ruck, and I've now pronounced it like eight times wrong, so I apologize. But
No, it's like we're learning 5 different languages at once.
actually, we're just trying to learn one, and we're not doing it well.
Well, trying to learn Privateer is kind of a hard deal to go, because I mean, and I agree with the how would you say the linguists? Is that more of a language type thing? Linguist?
Yeah, more, a linguist looks at the way language
How Kador is actually supposed to be pronounced in the Russian accent is Kador.
Yeah.
I can understand that. But the way Privateer just wants it is like, whatever, it's Kador.
Well, that's the thing, is it's not
They
Russia.
wrote it. They've got authority to say it's pronounced however they want. If they want to say Kador is pronounced donkey, then they can do that. We'll yell at them for not giving us any indication of such. But
is that what we're going to call Kador from now on?
Yes.
We're just going to call it Donkey?
Yes. My favorite donkey warcaster, Sorsha.
As long as it's not a show in Tijuana.
I was just about to say, you need to do a Kador battle report and call it the Donkey Show now. Make sure it's a Vlad 3 theme force.
Oh, all right.
We're classy folk.
Yep. This is going to get probably even more classier.
Why? What are we up to now?
We are up to the Slag Troll.
Oh, Slag Troll.
Alrighty.
Slag Troll, the troll that got really no love until Horrible came out.
He had spots.
Very little love.
The Slag Troll's problem is he is virtually identical to the Pirate Troll, except for corrosion instead of fire, and instead of an AoE range attack, he's got a rate of fire 2 erosion attack.
And cost 2 more.
1 more.
1 more? Is he 5? I thought he was...
He's 6.
No, he's a 6.
Yeah, the Pirate Trolls are 5.
Pirate Trolls is 5? Oh,
Unless
whoops.
taking him with Horgle.
Oh, I missed that.
Wow, you're a terrible person.
I'm a terrible troll player.
Yeah. No, so he has a lot of competition with the Pirate Troll. So in most lists, you're going to take a Pirate Troll over the Slag Troll because the damage boost is the same, and the Pirate Troll's got better defensive ability, and you don't really need to spend a lot of Fury on your Pirate Troll because he's lobbing AoEs. The Slag Troll's place is when you want a little bit more of a melee punch, because a lot of people don't realize that the Slag Troll actually has 1 more strength, so he's power and strength 13 instead of 12. And he's just better at doing damage himself. So he works best with casters that support his rate of fire 2 attack.
Yeah.
Things like both the Grims help the Slag Troll shoot better. Gunbjorn helps him shoot better. Horgle obviously helps him shoot better.
Yep.
That's when the Slag Troll really sees some gameplay. Other than that, most of the time you're probably going to be taking a Pirate Troll. But you can find some distinct advantages for the Slag.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really helps the Slag Troll is not so much what's happening in the game as far as what's been added to the game. I know, like, I've seen Slag Trolls used to a pretty good effect against, like, double Axioms, because if you just throw 2 at them, that's a pretty decent amount of damage that you're going to put on the Colossal. Right,
exactly. And since they're not a hard target to hit, you can max out the Fury on the Slag Troll and get, essentially, per Slag Troll, 2 double boosted power 12s.
Yeah.
Which can slowly put the hurt on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it makes it for some really vicious assassination runs against unaware Crix players, because that erosion effect works on undead the same way it works on a Jack. It's
non-living.
Yep,
right.
Anything non-living. So wolds, circles, standing stones, ancestral guardians. I've made some very cranky Scorn players by melting ancestral guardians as the only non-living target in their army. But in many cases, like I said, you want the Pirate Troll over the Slag, but don't discount it in certain circumstances.
Yeah, I think if you're having an army that's having trouble with some of those heavy Jack lists or wolds in general, you can always try out the Slag Troll, just because I think he can really do some work if you put him up against the right stuff. Like Megalith is another one where, unless you're throwing a heavy into him, it's going to be a little bit troublesome, but the Slag Troll can probably do a pretty decent amount of damage to him from a ways away.
Yeah.
In those
or
cases,
even in melee, too. The Slag Troll can take out War Machine heroes.
As far as melee is concerned, he's probably the overall best melee war beast that the Trollbloods have. He's got different kind of competition with the Axer, but the Slag Troll is actually capable of doing more damage just on his own.
To a construct heavy, though. I mean, like a War Machine heavy.
Even in melee.
Even
the Axer has a single power 14, the Slag has 2 power 13s. They're both mat 6.
Oh, yeah, true. Yep.
So the Slag Troll's got a very unique spot, and unfortunately it's just undercut a little bit by the Pirate Troll, which is why I usually only include him in lists that are designed to deal with Crix per se, or along those lines, or have particular benefit from the rate of fire 2 over the AoE. Like with Borka 2, things that hit your beast after the feature stationary. I like the Slag Troll there because it's really easy to hit a stationary model with that rate of fire 2 attack. You can just pick out a couple things blocking your charge lanes.
Exactly.
But those are corner case rather than general rule. So let's move on to our next target.
Our next one already? Storm Troll.
Oh, the Storm Troll. This guy is actually one of the best additions they added to Trollbloods of, not the most recent book, but of late.
He came out in, was it Domination?
Domination.
Yeah.
And he's same basic Trollblood stat line. Debatably a problem because he's Rat 4 and he's supposed to be a ranged beast.
Yeah, that's he has probably one of the coolest lightning things in the game, or coolest guns in the game. But he's like, I can't hit nothing, boss.
Yeah. But on the plus side, he's a beast, so at least you always have the option of boosting that unless he's been
exactly.
mangled. But his real role is to sit there and just irritate opponents by wiping out their high defense infantry or other squishy targets. Everyone's going to know the chain attack, like the chain lightning benefits of, like, there's a Jack, but there's a squishy mechanic causing you problems, or a gun mage or Iana standing too close to it. Shoot the big Jack, leap some lightning into it, and murder it. What a lot of people don't always realize is, unique to the Storm Troll, you can actually boost the lightning arcs off of the ranged attack. They don't specify non-boostable. So the Storm Troll can hit something, arc those power 10s around, and boost those damage rolls on an important target. Other dirty Storm Troll tricks is Animus grants Electro Leap, so that's pretty standard if you need to clear out some infantry, but remember that since only the model with the Animus is immune to electricity, you have to be careful about your own figures being closer so you don't zap them. It is optional, so you don't have to Electro Leap, but it will stop you from doing what you want to do. But what I'll do really commonly to opponents is they will attack me, they'll knock down one of my guys by having them pass a tough check, and I'll actually move the Storm Troll up, Lightning Fist the knockdown model, and shoot the knocked down model with the Storm Troll. Knockdown model's not going to get hurt because now it's immune to electricity, and then Lightning will just arc to the next close thing, which is usually the model who killed my dude. And then for extra fun, you can Fell Call the guy back up, and you can move deeper into the opponent's army with Lightning Fist. Past that, all the other things other trolls do. Two-handed fists, or two open fists for two-handed throws, weapon locks, headbutts, all that kind of fun stuff. But it's actually a really good addition in low model count lists, because he helps make up the model difference very quick. I love him with warders.
Just being able to jump electricity off of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Being bounce electricity off of the warders, or even just because his Animus is only a single Fury, is the Lightning Troll puts his Animus on one, and then the caster puts Lightning Fists on one or two other models in the unit, and suddenly the three warders are killing 6 dudes.
Yeah. People don't expect the lightning with trolls that often unless they know what your Storm Troll does.
Yeah, and I've had more people upset about what the Storm Troll is doing to them what the Pirate Troll ever could.
Yeah. One of the other hidden things about the Storm Troll I think is neat too is just like shutting down arc nodes pretty well. Just like jamming them and then they'll hit that and then get the disruption effect. So most arc nodes aren't going to kill a beast in one shot. Like if you're marching this thing into a heavy and hoping that it'll survive it, you can take your chances. But the thing is like if you're looking at Thorn or any Crix arc node, you don't have to worry about hitting it to box it. You just sit there and let them get disrupted when they hit you trying to free themselves up a little bit.
Yeah, like you just pretty much send them base to base with like a death jack and just watch them go.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Because even if they do kill the Storm Troll, I'm pretty sure the disruption sticks.
I think the disruption's just on hit, isn't it?
It's just on hit.
Yeah.
So even if they crush it in one go, I think it might stop them. I don't remember if it has that clause or not.
Unless it was destroyed.
Okay.
So
but one blow for anything outside of like a Colossal, not likely. And a Colossal wouldn't get disrupted regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Storm Troll's actually got some really good utility. The big problem is that it's just putting one more beast into your battle group in a faction that doesn't have the best Fury control options.
Yeah, especially with the lights. With the heavies, it's arguable, but with the lights, there's nothing to help you out.
And so what I usually end up doing with him is lists that I'm worried are going to get overrun by a bulk of opponent's models. Like if they can flood me with too many figures, that's when I want to have a Storm Troll available.
Especially against like Retribution, where you only need to hit them once, and then that lightning's just going to jump through them like a...
Yep, and since they're immune to your blast shenanigans, then I can take care of them. And it works pretty well because that the leaps off of those are 4 inches, so you can catch some surprising figures. But like in most cases, would I ever field more than one Storm Troll on the list? Probably not. Maybe, but...
Maybe in the Theme Force.
Maybe in Calandra's Theme Force, and in which case then definitely field more, but in most cases... I recommend picking up a Storm Troll because it can fix a lot of surprising problems for you. But spamming the things, in most cases, your eyes are not going to be able to handle all the Fury. They're just not going to get enough real work done. Because they excel at lots of little attacks, but not big ones.
Yep.
Well, let's see. Now I think we move on to...
the Swampy.
Swampy. Now, for some reason, the internet doesn't like Swampy, and I never figured that out.
He is Borka's best friend.
Oh, he's a lot of casters' best friends. The Swamp Troll is the other 4-point war beast that we have in the faction.
Yep.
And when you compare it to the Night Troll, it actually still does a lot. Built-in Pathfinder, still has Mat 5, 2 power and strength 12s. It also packs a power 10 gun with two really awesome effects on it.
Well, with the tongue lash, which is amazing, but yeah.
Yeah. So with the tongue lashing, it's a drag option, so a lot like the Reaper, but on medium based or smaller, and then crit consume. And I love crit consume. It never works when you want it to, but it's so beautiful.
I had an opponent where he was playing mercenaries, and I think he was playing Drake McBain. He feeded, put Drake McBain's feet up onto Alexia, and then ran her towards my force. And then I proceeded to. He felt pretty confident. He was like in range of my caster, so I was double costing all my spells. But then I said like, "Oh, I aim with my swamp troll," and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
and I boost the hit. Unfortunately, I did not eat her in one hit because that bypasses her tough check
Yep.
as well.
Because the second that you get that critical hit,
Yep.
if they're a small-based model,
You just
they're
gulp.
gone.
Gulp.
And the funny thing is, it doesn't have to be alive, and it doesn't have to even be able to be dragged. I have eaten more shifting stones than any other model in the game. Because I will move up my swamp troll within 5 for the stealth range, because I've got Pathfinder, it's actually fairly easy to do. I will boost the attack roll, and the defenses on those things are so low. If I roll 2-1-1, I have critically hit a shifting stone.
Yeah.
It is still a small-based warrior model, and it gets consumed. Doesn't matter that it's got 5 boxes. Doesn't matter that if I would have damaged it, I couldn't drag it. I still ate the rock.
I've always liked the Swamp Troll in conjunction with the Impaler, where you're ending up sniping that tongue out so you can really get some good drags to help feed maybe, or not so much feed, but like make your more like, I'm kind of a melee caster, but I don't want to be in the middle of your business. Give them a little bit more, more or to be able to select things out like a white mane. You know, if I'm playing something where I've got maybe like pigs or something like that, and a white mane sitting there, I will probably drag it out, snipe it, and kill it with something that can actually do the work to it.
Yep, and that's just it. Is the swamp troll is with a boosted attack roll will likely hit, with a boosted damage roll will in most cases damage it. Oh, that's actually a good call.
What? Sure.
I need your.
It's labeled as Long Island ST, but it's really turpentine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
You could probably strip models with this.
when we get to the fire breathers, I have to remind myself of a story about that. I'm going to write that down.
But yeah, so like the swamp troll for 4 points, even just on his own rules without his animus, does a lot. Pathfinder's a big deal on a model that cheap. And when you've got camouflage to crank up your defense for parking yourself in a forest, you know, that's defense 16 trolls are rude.
And yeah, that animus is really, really awesome. As I said it before, is like Borka's best friend.
Yeah.
I mean, when he has that thing on him, he's defense 17, which on a stumbling drunk caster, it's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, and so
And armor 19 at that time too.
yeah, when
generally.
using melee or if
Yeah.
you got the if he's got the stone, it's 19 or 21.
Well,
Yeah.
and if you throw Iron Flesh on yourself too, then you're just like, oh, trolls can actually have defense 20 something. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the swamp troll is actually pretty good, and dragon shenanigans get a lot done. I've gotten a lot of mileage with that swamp troll, pairing it with the battle wagon, or in the rare circumstances where I field thumpers, because a knockdown model is easy pickings to get hit.
Yeah.
And especially in the case of the thumper, if you get lucky and slam an important model either out of the way so you can drag cleanly, or slam something into something else and knock it down, you know. No matter how much your opponent thinks they got the game in control, if you yank Haley from her backfield into your forefield without the rest of her army, she's not looking so good.
If you can actually hit Haley though with Rad 5.
Well, that's where you bring
that's why you try to knock her down.
That's true.
One of my first games with the Swamp Troll, I was playing against Sloane, which I mean she parks in the backfield.
Sure.
But I used a war wagon, hit something nearby. I forget what it was. It was I want to say it was a jack.
Probably a defender.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Some defense 13 thing. So, admittedly, hitting with the battle wagon wasn't nearly guaranteed. But either way, it knocked her down. The swamp troll gets the impaler far shot, moves up 5 inches, hits Sloane, and drags her literally 12 inches into my army.
Yep, that's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the game was
Without
over
tough.
after that.
Yeah.
Without tough, it's
Yeah.
it's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, so it's... Yeah, and the game ended at that point in time. Like, most of her army was alive,
Yeah,
but she wasn't.
exactly. If people don't, they just, I don't think the shenanigans that trolls have available to them are not something that people really think of when they're actually playing against some of those fringe models that you don't see often.
Yeah, yeah. The biggest enemy of online Trollblood players is buying too much into web mentality. There's a lot of flexibility and adaptivity in the faction.
Activity.
Adaptivity.
Well, yeah, there is. I mean, you got the Earthborn, right?
Yes. Hate you all.
I brought that merry-go-round back around.
Yeah. It'll be funny when you bring it around one of these times. But yeah, there's a lot of flexibility you can really bring to bear, and if your opponent sees the same models across the board every time they play a Trollblood player, they're going to know what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So don't discount the Swamp Troll. It's probably, like, between the two 4-point beasts, it's definitely my favorite, but it's actually one of my favorites to splice in. Another caster who actually likes them is Calandra. Bonus 2 defense on that model when you can star-crossed.
Yeah, really difficult to hit.
Is irritating. And the fact that she can help fix some of its die rolls if things go south means that those drags get much more real.
Yeah, you also get your chances at making sure your crits can happen better.
Yep. Yeah. Like, we could all share, like, the best consumed figure. I ate a stinger from full health once. That was a happy day for me.
I'm trying to think back to what was I doing when I was playing Trolls often? Oh, a gun mage officer. That was my best. When my friend first started playing Signar and was like, boom, I'm jumping into Epic Kane. I'm like, fuck you. And I'm just like, I started playing Borka a lot against him and brought my Swamp Trolls, and that's when the gun mage officer just, like, whiffed it. Granted, it didn't really affect my army a whole lot, but it made him sad.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that's what Swamp Troll really will do.
Or Storm
Because they'll disrupt battle plans. Or, like, the bane of what was going to ruin the game, where if a model's out of formation, you can't buff it at all, so you just grab that one model that's a little too hard to kill and drag it out of formation. And then your opponent's game is over. It's ruined permanently.
Even special weapons in a unit, like Storm Gunners or not Caber Throwers, but Winter Guard Rocketeers. You know, you pull those guys out and consume them, then nobody's picking up that weapon because there's no way they'd be within 3. I mean, there's a way, but
well, on the crit consume, it doesn't work because the model never even gets destroyed.
Oh,
it goes
I thought they would drag it out first and then consume it.
But there's no way to save the weapon in that case either. It goes straight from hit to gone.
Yeah.
There's no other in between. So it does stop the weapon swap outs. If there's something with tough, however, if you hit it, hurt it, don't consume it, then drag it, then you're in the clear.
Yeah, I was just testing you, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying desperately to find the picture that you have to prove that you...
I think Nate took it. I don't know if that helps at all.
Was it Nate or was it Brian? I thought it was Brian.
I think it was Nate.
Damn it! Now I'm gonna have to look at Nate's. But yeah, the proof of you playing things that are not popular in Trolls.
There we go. Yeah, I mean that's what I do, and I get good mileage out of the stuff that's not insalvageable. Unsalvageable, can't be used.
True. So we're off to the next topic here.
Yeah, let's move on to the next troll, which is the Xer.
Yep,
the heaviest light in the game.
Yeah, he is so sexy.
Yeah, if you look at his stat line, he's actually built almost exactly like an Ironclad is. He's got same speed. He's got Mat 6 instead of Mat 7, admittedly, but same defense and same armor. An armor 18 light with no shield is actually pretty uncommon. Actually, I can't think of any other lights that do have an armor 18.
I can't personally think of one right now because I've been drinking, but
yeah, that's why.
Yeah, that's why. No, I don't think of. Other than Vigilant is, but he's different in that regards. You're moving closer to me. Every time you bumped, it turned the camera out of focus for a second.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Axer is, if you're looking for a light war beast that will do some melee work, the Axer is where you go. Speed 5, reach, power, strength 14, Thresher. Means he can actually put some hurt even on the medium infantry. A lot of these medium-based swarms don't like to deal with Axers. Because you can very easily take that Axer from power and strength 14 to power and strength 17 with a Mauler, 18 with the Stone, and then a power and strength 18 Thresher is going to put hurt on just about any medium-based infantry.
Yeah, it's the reason why most people are scared of Beast. Beast 09, that is.
Right. And so a lot of this recent, like, Meat and Mountain style army list building, the Axer's got a lot of game against it.
Well, yeah, it changed the purpose of him other than just being a rush stick.
Yes, and I mean, and that was the rusher's primary purpose is rush.
He's just the rusher.
Yes.
Well, yeah, he really likes Rush a lot. I mean, he's the reason why you have him in your list.
Yeah, and basically he hands out Pathfinder and he hands out Speed, which is admittedly a concern for a lot of Trollblood war beasts. Now I'm disappointed that when we shifted from Mark 1 to Mark 2 and Scorn stole Rush and took away our ability to cast it on warrior models, but it still has a lot of applicability. You know, making a Mauler Speed 7 in Pathfinder helps a lot, even without the reach. So he does that work. He's got a lot of armor to back him up, and he hits just hard enough. Like downfalls being, it's a 6-point light beast, and you can look across other armies and see a 6-point Slayer, you know, or a 6-point Crusader. It falls a little shy when compared to those items, but it's a really good army enabler. And like the way I tend to use my Axers is either as a retaliation against infantry swarm, like somebody gets up in my grill, I want the Axer to pick up the pieces, or I use them to help enable an alpha strike when I can arrange for that, which admittedly in Trollbloods for the beasts can be a little difficult.
Yeah, I think another good use of him is trying to set up some of your beasts that people might on the turn 1 move into a bad spot, or their advanced deploys move into a bad spot where they think they're fine, and then one of my examples just recently was feeding with Borka 1, rushing with the Axer, and then my Mountain King is now moving halfway across the table.
Yup. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the Mountain King, the Axer's actually really good friends with the Mountain King. I like to put Rush on the Mountain King, not so that it can actually charge farther. I mean, that helps too, but actually so it can move 7 inches and start doing a reach power attack. It takes a lot of people off guard when your Mountain King moves 7 inches, grabs a model another 2 inches away, and flings them back into the rest of the army, kills it, and then does a kill shot.
Trampling over a sea of people is really good too when your opponent tries to space them to where you can't fit, and you're just like, I got 2 extra inches, suck up.
Yeah. Now 10 inches from the back of my base is actually a little more terrifying.
Exactly.
And similarly, the Mountain King's Animus works well on the Axer because Thresher is still a special attack, so it gets the Amok bonus in all of its swings.
Yep.
And I mean, I've taken people off guard with that one as well. When an Axer killed 3 Chaosian ago, and I was like, you're not supposed to be able to do that.
Well, that boosted attack helps out a lot.
Yeah, and absolutely. But one of those moments where like that's no, they're supposed to be indestructible. Stop that.
Yeah, it's extremely fury efficient. Like, you're thinking about some of these other casters from War Machine who are really trying to get focus efficiency, like maybe more Tenebra or somebody, but putting a Muck on a Axer gives you 3 extra fury that you didn't have to use.
Yeah. And even outside of those synergy effects, the Axer can end a lot of games when the opponent's not expecting it. It hits just hard enough to make sure that a caster, even at full health, has to keep watch.
Yep.
Mat 6 Power 14 is nothing to write home about. Every heavy in the game is going to do better than that. But it's coming out of one of your light war beasts, and maybe they didn't pay attention to it because of that.
Yeah, and that was a good example. Just last night, or not last night, the night before, I played against Kaya 2, and the Mountain King was off in his own world doing his own thing, being tied up with a bunch of stuff. And didn't expect a sitting on no fury, my rush stick coming to get him, because that's what they thought about it as, was, the Axer is a proc for rush. That's what he's there for, is to give rush to people. But POW 14, when you're boosting, that can do some work to a caster with low armor value.
Well, even then, with the stone in place too, I mean, that's...
Yeah, well, so you can work the Axer up to Power 18.
Yeah, he does pretty awesome stuff by himself. Unexpected awesomeness.
Yeah.
From a model that you basically bring in a sense for rush.
Yeah, and it's tough enough where your opponent may take a couple of pot shots at him and realize that it's armor 18 and start ignoring it.
With regeneration too.
Yeah, I always forget everything has regenerate until I need it.
Yeah, I know. I think that's where some of the points come from on our beasts, like the Axer. Like, regeneration maybe adjusts it a little bit, but it's not always worth it. But when it works,
it's one of those rules that's more for flavor and occasional use. Or even touched it, but like the Slag Troll has Cast Iron Stomach.
Yep.
Where like if it destroys an enemy construct with a melee attack, it heals a D6. I think I've used that once, and by when I say used it, it would have triggered if my Slag Troll were hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's once your lights get hurt, there's a pretty good chance they're getting hurt.
Yes. Yeah. And then they're just gone. But yeah, the axes are just all around good. I don't usually feel that much in lists that have gun lines, or too often with casters that have natural speed boosts to counteract that. So I don't usually feel the axes too much with like Jarl. I know everyone loves the model that can suddenly bolt out 11 inches and kill something.
And then die.
Well, it'll bolt 11 inches and then die, or bolt out 11 inches and accidentally run out of my range 10 caster's control range.
Yeah.
Or in order to be able to do that, I put my caster out dangling in the wind going, "Yay! I'm going to die horribly now!"
I'm having troubles. I'm trying to submit our live stream here over to Reddit, and I'm just having troubles with the CAPTCHA. I should not have been
do you
drinking.
know how to read?
Take care of all the technical shit before you start looking at CAPTCHA.
I'm not sure.
Does the rest
I'm
of
not
the
a
screen,
robot.
Okay.
Does the rest of the screen look like CAPTCHA too?
You mention it.
Yeah, I posted it, so it's all good now.
Yay!
I have been drinking a lot so far. This stuff is pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I've never been much of a fan of Long Island's, but I can see this being not a mainstay for me, but it's a once in a while thing.
A sipper.
But I drink shitty beer all the time, so
Oh.
that's kind of that's the scope of my alcoholic palate.
It's a quantity over quality thing.
Well, yes, there's a beer that's for sale at our liquor store that recently came about. I don't know if this is new or anything, but it's KUL with an umlaut over the U. Pretty sure it's just cool, and it's like $5 for a case. It's like Keystone, but worse.
It's always a good start.
Like, I feel like murdering myself today. Oh, and their 24-pack is all talls, too. So that's how you know it's bad.
Or good.
Maybe.
Well, it's good for one thing. But either way, yeah, Axer is great. I usually field them primarily when I've got maulers I would need to get someplace, or if I really feel that I need to give my beasts Pathfinder more than I need to worry about anything else.
Yeah, the Pathfinder on Rush is something that I think
It's a big deal, but at the same time, because most of our beasts don't have reach, I don't think it comes up very often.
Yeah.
In most cases, Rush will get you to that wall that's causing a problem anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely good. Don't let those comments dismiss you from it. It fits very well in things, but just don't auto-include it because it's got a good animus.
Yeah. Well, inhospitable ground's a thing, too, and that can really choke up a Trollblood army.
Well, here's the thing. Is if the rest of my army's got Pathfinder, I don't really care if my beasts don't.
Yeah.
So inhospitable ground will slow down the beasts, and I got the rest of the army. Because I don't feel that my army needs to have Pathfinder on a stick. If I can't find some way of covering a bad circumstance with another piece, then maybe the list is built a little wrong. But
yeah.
if I feel that everything in my list has to be able to have Pathfinder, I think I'm building my list a little wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a difference between having it accessible and needing it.
Yeah,
but
if you're not running Pathfinder guys, it's usually, or running a ton of beasts,
yeah,
it's probably pretty important that you have that Pathfinder on a stick.
Yeah, and I mean, the big difference is if you're running a ranged battle group, you can skip it. If you're running a melee battle group, probably don't.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, because just a simple wall will just hamper all of your abilities.
But I mean, it's putting rush on your bomber. You're going to charge your bomber in there, and it's going to hit something 3 times with power 15s, and then stare at the thing it didn't kill.
Yeah, I think if you're rushing your bombers, you got to re-examine what you're doing.
Right.
But yeah, I envision in my head every model that looks like it's got its hand out doing something, and then like an Earthborn sitting there behind a wall, and it's just like they're putting their hand on their head.
Earthborn just wants to hug you and kiss you and eat most of your organs. But yeah, the Axer, solid gold. So I think that means our next beast is the Bouncer.
Yes, the Bouncer. I've been really wanting to try and take this guy more lately.
The Bouncer's actually gotten some improved game of late. The reason you take the Bouncer is because it's got Shield Guard.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason. It's capable of doing other things, but don't take it to do those other things. Take it because you want Shield Guard.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a power and strength 13 reach weapon with chain on it, so it can ignore shield walls and stuff like that, which is handy. Particularly like on Prime Madrak when you're using his feet. it's really fun having a Mat 7 bouncer go through their army going like, shield wall, don't care, shield wall, don't care, shield wall, don't care. And just crushing things that way and just stepping to the next target.
Yeah.
Oh, Andy.
This is that kind of show, huh?
I figure you're doing less painting.
So now you got to remind me.
So I'm going to just do some adjusting.
Yeah.
So now you're in the shot.
Well, I felt like talking. I mean, the more liquor that gets in me, the more I like to talk about War Machine, and the less I realize that I'm painting Borka's skin purple.
It's a bruise, okay? It's a full body bruise.
I mean, his skin looks pretty legit, though.